Hello and welcome back to the channel of Motorbike Nonsense. That is the home of the finest chicken burger money can buy, but that is home of the silliest motorbike you can buy. This is the new for 2022 KTM SuperDuke R EVO. It is a £17,899 new version of the SuperDuke R, and the main difference is it's got blue bits on the forks. Yeah, it's got semi-active electronic suspension. Other than that, that's basically it. It is £1,500 more than the regular SuperDuke R. I'm actually quite conveniently next to some of my favourite country roads, and I just want to find out why it has electronic suspension and what difference it makes, and if you should set it to spend another £1,500. So yeah, let's get cracking. I'm in performance mode. I have set the damping to comfort because I've just been doing some dual carriagewayness, and I have to say it is more comfortable than the regular SuperDuke R when it's in comfort mode, as you would hope. It really does iron out the bumps remarkably well. I'm going to leave it in comfort mode for the first bit of this country road ride, then I'm going to start putting it in track mode and things like that, where it gets a lot firmer apparently. So yeah, join me for this ride. Thank you, Mr. Fiat 500. And it was Mr. I'm not being sexist. And let's go and see if we can have some fun. I think we probably can, because last time I rode the regular SuperDuke last year, I giggled so hard and my lungs nearly fell out. It was a very, very silly bike. Right, I'm keeping anti-wheelie on. Oh no, it's gone off. Oh, don't know why it's gone off, but anyway. Right, so yeah, all the same usual SuperDuke things apply. Still got that slightly unhinged, incredibly unhinged 1301cc V-twin with 180 horsepower and was 140 odd newton meters of torque, and it is just a lovely, lovely engine for the road. It is savage, it is sledgehammer brutal, and you kind of need to know what you're doing if you're doing things like putting it in sport mode, turning the wheel control. It has been a while since I've ridden one, but yeah, still does. Third gear wheelies on command, little ones, big ones, fancy ones, short ones. It's an exciting bike to ride, and I'm used to this engine now because obviously I have a version of this engine in my own 1290 Super Adventure, so I'm not being as shocked by the performance as I was last year, but it is still a phenomenally fast bike. And that's the thing I think is going to be a recurring feature of this video, is that the standard SuperDuke R is sodding good. And one of the things I liked most about that in my video review last year was the suspension. I thought, even though it was a standard suspension setup, not electric, not semi-active, I thought it was really well judged for British roads. It wasn't too firm, it wasn't coarse, it didn't feel cheap, it didn't feel poorly damped. It just didn't get in the way of me having a lot of fun, and the chassis was one of the things that impressed me most about that bike. It felt incredibly stable, incredibly solid, didn't buck and weave, it did lots of wheelies and went around corners like it felt glued down to them. And this, I think, is just going to be more of the same, but with a bit more comfort. Definitely more comfort. I mean, this suspension is already doing a good job of costing my buttocks. But will it give me more direct feedback when I ramp it up? So you know what? I've already waffled on enough. Let's use this 30 limit to change the suspension. And hey, guess what? Still got cruise control. And I've got heated grips on this one as well. Now, obviously, like all KTMs, the electronic-y bits, you have to pay to unlock. And I'm going to do a full walk around of this in a minute when I get to my lay-by of not dogging, just looking at nice motorbikes. And I'll talk to you about the options prices. But anyway, the road is blocked, so that is... So let us just go into the menus, down to suspension, damping. I'm going to move up to sport. Yeah, and my visor has fogged up. Right, so damping is now set to sport. And I put anti-wheelie back on just so I can focus on the ride and try not to flip it. I forget how good these bikes are. You just get a sense it has unlimited grip. Yeah, okay. So yeah, now I'm in sport mode. The damping is noticeably firmer. The turn in on this is just lovely. There's something about a SuperDuke that makes you feel part of it. It's so small, but actually it's not uncomfortable by being small. What I mean is it's small front to back, so you can see the front tyre the whole time, and it just kind of, you melt into the bike almost, and that really pays dividends when it comes to sticking your knee out and getting your head on the tank and gassing it between corners. As a riding position, it is, I don't know, it's just brilliant. It just mixes comfort and engagement with the machine. If I was going to be a bit of a knob, and frankly I am a bit of a knob. Yeah, and don't worry, even with anti-wheelie on, it will try to pop little ones up. Yeah, it's yeah, I think this suspension has just added a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more complexity. And I asked the man at KTM why they bothered putting semi-active suspension on this bike, considering it was so good on the regular one. And really it's just to create an ultimate version of the SuperDuke which has a bit more breadth of capability. So if you live somewhere with bumpy roads, you can whack it in comfort mode quite easily, and you know, if you take it to a track, you can get into the menus and adjust the preload and the suspension firmness front and rear. So it just separates everything out, and it's very similar to the system I've got on my adventure bike, on my Super Adventure, because it also has the anti-dive function. Now, I know some people, probably die-hard racers, who like a bit of front suspension dive and the feel that you get through the front tyre from that. You can turn it off, you can leave it off. But I quite like the way it reduces the pitch ever so slightly when you hammer the brakes. It just gives me a bit more confidence, really, and I feel like it neatens up my my cornering, certainly on the road. I might turn it off on track. But yes, it gets all of these toys as part of having the fancy electronic suspension, the anti-dive, the adjustable preload, the adjustable everything, the adjustable firmness at your bum end and your hand end. Don't know if I'm quite lying down for that analogy to work. But yeah, other than that, it is pretty much SuperDuke business as usual. To adjust the suspension, you get a few more menus, but really, let's stick it in track suspension and see if it takes my eyeballs out and wraps them around my colon. Suspension, damping, I'm just going to go track. There's an advanced mode. Right, so I'm now in track, which is the firmest. Let's see, let's go over some crappy bits. Yeah, it's firmer. What do you think? What do you expect? Oh, it's so fast. Yeah, I think my review of this bike last time was just me giggling lots. I'm going to try and be more professional today if my GoPros can hold out. Yeah, it's so much fun, this bike. One thing that is worth mentioning are the brakes, because they're Brembo Stylemas and they have a lovely feel. Not every bike I've ridden with Stylemas has such lovely feel, like that Speed Triple 1200 RR. It feels like trying to whack them on just so they can tick the Stylema box. But this, they actually feel lovely. God. Yeah, it's nice to be back on what is my favourite Super Naked. It just is so well suited to our B-roads. Gives you so much excitement low down in the revs that you don't have to go chasing it. You can just, if you turn the anti-wheelie off, you just gas it in third at 50, 60 miles an hour, and up she comes. But you've always got the electronics to look after you, so you feel that you've got confidence to gas it hard out of corners and really make the most of that torque, because you buy this bike for the torque. It'd be a shame if you were scared to use it. But anyway, that's enough waffle for me. I'm just going to start, pull up and do a quick walk around of this bike, show you all the bits and pieces, talk about some of the options, prices, and KTM's strategy of extracting money from you, as they have done from me for my bike, and then we'll do a little conclusion. It's walk around time. Here it is then, the KTM SuperDuke R EVO, and you kind of have to know what you're looking for, because it doesn't say EVO anywhere on this bike as far as I can spot, but you do get a blue collar on suspension. That's the main giveaway, that you've got the one with the semi-active suspension. Obviously you've got the electric screwdrivers up there, but otherwise this is Well, it's the same package, the same delicious package as the regular SuperDuke R, a bike that in my opinion didn't really need fiddling with. But to be honest, this is only £1.5 grand more for having more options on the suspension front, but otherwise the package is the same. Now, as I said, this is £17,899 before options. And yeah, being a KTM, you will want some options. Basically, this has got a lot of electronic stuff on it, which you need to pay to unlock. And the best way to do that really is to spend £1,050, yeah, £1,050, taking this to basically a 19 grand motorbike, to get the tech pack. Do I mean the tech pack? Yeah, I do mean the tech pack. That includes the track pack. It unlocks the quick shifter, which is not unlocked as standard, which is pretty bad. Unlocks the adaptive brake light that flashes when you brake hard. That's not very useful. And in the track pack you get launch control, the spin adjust, so you can adjust the traction control intrusion on the fly. You can turn anti-wheelie mode off, then you get performance mode. Yeah, you want the track pack. So yeah, really, this is a 19 grand bike, which is quite expensive, but you know, it's up against the Ducati Street Fighter, which has got more power than this, but is still a bit more money. The engine, it literally says on KTM's website for this bike, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it really, really isn't broke. 180 horsepower, 140 newton meters of torque. Still got a 16 litre tank, but that's good for about 150 miles if you take it steady. That is a peach and my favorite motorbike engine in any modern bike. That engine does have to propel 2 kilograms more than the regular SuperDuke with the standard suspension setup. Yeah, there's a 2 kilogram penalty for having the semi-active suspension, which isn't a huge amount in the grand scheme of things. So it's 191 kilos, this bike. You still get stylema calipers, and if you're a massive tart, you can go into the KTM Power Parts accessory catalogue and stick some carbon fibre brake cooling ducts for 215 quid. Please do that. The handlebars, still adjustable to 4 positions so you can get nice and comfy, but the standard riding position is quite nice and aggressive without being too wristy. You've got Bridgestone S22s, they're sticky as you like, really good road rubber, massive fat back tyre. Orange wheels, they're back, I quite like that. Yeah, last year there were black wheels with an orange spoke, and now they've gone full tangerine. The 2 colour schemes for this year are this kind of bluey, kind of dark blue navy sort of thing, and there's one which looks white on the KTM website, but it is actually silver in person. It's kind of a semi-matte silver. Seat's really comfortable, and you've got quite a big pillion seat, really good for strapping stuff too. And you've got that kind of composite rear subframe which can take, what is it, 1.5 tons or something stupid like that. So you can go touring on this. It's got a nice pad for sticking stuff on, and I would like to go touring on this, and I did nearly buy one to go touring on, but I couldn't insure one, so I bought Super Adventure. Now if you turn it on, you get the same screen as before, but with some new options for the suspension. So there we go, you go into suspension and you can set the damping to some presets or an automatic mode. So I've been using Sport, Comfort and Track. If you go to Advanced, you can then get a few extra menus. You can set the preload to Auto, High, Standard or Low. And there's a manual option where you can just wind it up and down using the up and down arrows. Over here, I actually want it in auto standard. You can turn the anti-dive off and on, that's just an off or on option, and then fork stiffness, 7 soft and 1 is hard. And you can do the same for the shock. If you just leave the suspension damping in one of the preset modes, such as Sport, those options disappear. It's really quite straightforward. I probably made that more complicated than it needs to be. This one has heated grips, and this is where you can turn quick shifter off and on and turn traction control off. If you go to performance, which is unlocked in the tech pack, that's a separate riding mode, but it gives you loads of customizableness. So you can change the throttle response, the anti-wheelie mode off or on, launch control, and then you get a different dash setup as well for performance mode. I leave it in performance mode, and then you can just flick anti-wheelie off and on. You've got the same custom switch, which hasn't been set up on this bike, but you can just go through the menus, and I've got that set to turn heated grips off and on my Super Adventure. So yeah, that is it. And you've still got the nice backlit switch gear. The indicator switch can still be a little bit fiddly to cancel. You kind of have to push it in and down, but you get used to that really quickly. And you've got the plus and minus buttons here to adjust the slip on the move or your cruise control speed. That is kind of it. It's a really simple package. Still, I would say my favorite super naked on the market at the moment. It's just a brute, but quite a friendly brute when you want it to be, or it will smash you in the face if you turn anti-wheelie off and want to get on it. But anyway, enough of that. Let's do some more riding. Right, let's continue on my way on the SuperDuke R EVO, SuperDuke R EVO. I think that's the company that does remaps for Volkswagen Group cars. But yeah, the more I ride this, the more I think that this does do a nice job of broadening the SuperDuke's window of operation. I mean, the regular one is comfy enough, as I've said. This just, I don't know, it just adds a little bit of configurability. And I think if you get this, you will fiddle with the suspension modes and you will use them. And at the end of the day, if you're spending 16 grand, 17 grand on a bike, what's another grand and a half, especially if you're getting on finance? And if you do get this, you've got the knowledge that you've got the ultimate SuperDuke that isn't one of the kind of limited edition, sold out carbon fibre clad silly ones. So would I get this? Depends entirely on your personal circumstances. Any SuperDuke is a good SuperDuke. The regular one is one of the most, I'm getting a bit of straight in my old age, is one of the most mind-blowing motorbikes you can ride on the road. It is such an event. You end up kind of having to hold on to it, and that's kind of fun. I quite like that. But you've got cruise control, you've got heated grips, you can just plodder along around your country lanes, or strap a bag on the back, or you can just go bananas. Let me turn the slip down. I want to turn the anti-wheelie off as well, because I just want that life-affirming experience of riding a SuperDuke with anti-wheelie off. You have to be a little bit careful, obviously, and you know, these things just happen by accident, don't they, most of the time. One last thing before we go, I've just doing some, let's say, advanced riding in the least advanced Institute Motorist way you could possibly imagine. And I think this bike is a little bit less naturally wheelie prone than it used to be. And I've tried it in various different suspension settings, but I wonder if there's something about the preload on the rear shock or the way it's set up. I think the geometry of the chassis is exactly the same. I think it's just a little bit less prone to wheelies off the throttle. I'm not talking about clutching them up, I just think a little bit more planted. I mean, yeah, still doing them, don't get me wrong. I feel like they're, I don't know, not as instant, maybe a bit more gentle. That's probably just me being a bit of a fairy with the throttle though, so anyway, onwards. What a bike, what a bike, I love it. But yeah, it's still an absolutely bloody thrilling bike to ride. Oh dear. I like, you know, people on the internet, grumpy old men, will say that the SuperDuke was meant to be a beast and it's getting too civilized. I kind of say bollocks to that. I want a bike that can excite me and also be civilized and useful. A bike that I'm going to ride. There's no point having a bike that is so tortuous you never really ride it other than on warm Sundays when you go around very slowly in your one-piece leathers to your nearest cafe. Get a SuperDuke and ride the tits off it. Whether it's the electrically suspended one or the normal one, I don't really care. But everyone should go and ride a SuperDuke, the 1290 Gen 3 at some point, because it'll blow you away in pretty much every single way, in terms of handling, in terms of now the comfort of the suspension in comfort mode. The engine is a star turn, obs. Yeah, it's just a very, very lovely machine. But anyway, I've waffled far too long about this bike. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to turn the GoPros off and ride back to KTM diligently, very diligently, and I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. If this has been helpful, do hit like, because it really encourages me to go out and do more of these, and stay tuned for more KTM videos, both of my own and some other things that I've got coming up. So yeah, see you soon, YouTube. Stay cool, ride motorbikes, and go and ride the SuperDuke. Oh man.